About this, a little deviation. Um, so Bounding the Comics did a good job of kind of compiling all the information. So I'm not going to necessarily make the point that, and shout out to John F. Trent of Bounding in the Comics. I'm just going to reference the article to reference Eric's post. I'd rather give Bounding in the Comics the money with the ads and shit than going on Twitter and just going on Twitter. So this is what he's the now. Eric Larson is now the C. I think he's the C. What is it, CFO? Did they talk about this in the article? Yes, he's the CFO of Image Comics. And this is what he had to say about the Punisher, comic book character, the Punisher, who is, of course, going through these changes, and a lot of those changes are centered around. I'll put it to you like this: Marvel, the people that now control Marvel, do not like that there are people that they consider their ideological and political enemies that are very favorable of the Punisher. This is an example of this. Okay? This is a prime example of a lot of what's going on is done out of spite. A lot of what happens in mainstream comic books is done out of spite. All the stories are dead on arrival, but they do stuff to get at folk and to impress their peers, get a couple of laughs, headlines, articles. It's never been about the characters, and it certainly has never been about the fans. Eric Larson said this: instead of changing Punisher's chest emblem, they should have just have Frank really realize that he's gay. And the beauty of it is that it wouldn't alter the comics at all. It would alter the comics severely, considering the whole reason why he's on this sort of mission that is never ending. If he was gay, he'd still be dressing in leather, ignoring the ladies, and hanging out in bars with other sweaty dudes. Fun joke there. And this is what he adds. And then the Punisher skull would take on a new meaning, and it would just kill the dudes who brandish it. They're such a homophobic lot. Seriously, if you read the Punisher comics, which exist, nothing changes. Again, that is verifiably false. You can read the comics that are in point in all the works, man. He just keeps getting tidy, weird how he hasn't hooked up with any lady in 50 years. Well, he hadn't aged 50 years either, unless you're talking about they have fucked up Punisher, and you had the whole he turns into like Ghost Rider, the cosmic Ghost Rider and shit, because he became the heir to fucking Galactus and shit. But long story short, Eric Larson advocates that the fucker be gay because, again, he feels that the people that generally support him are his ideological enemies. And, of course, everybody that's his ideological enemy, basically, you're not part of the authoritarian left, you're a homophobe. And they'd rather take it to you and use the character that maybe people that are more fond of him are. And that's what this is about. Look, this is what all comics are really about in the American sense. And this is the game plan by way of Marvel, DC, and all the other major comic book companies, be it Image, Dark Horse. This is what it is they do. They do shit out of spite. They do things to impress their peers. They don't write books for you. Now, that's why I say you should just let them go. But it's important that you know that, and because they don't hide this shit in some like interview. Okay? They don't hide it in the interview. They say, and they just tell you what it is they feel. And they'll let you know straight off the rip in an Instagram post and a Twitter post, and it's unprovoked. That's how cocky they are, because they look at it like, I'm not going to see any consequence to what it is that I'm doing. Everybody's in on it, right? It's not like Image is going to get this guy fuck up out of there. It's not like with the writers that are now writing for Marvel or DC are going to be losing their jobs because they took a position that essentially called half of the fucking voting population Nazis. They're not going to do that. Because they know that their bacon is fine. They're not going to lose any of their opportunity. They might get a promotion, if anything, for saying the fucked up shit it is that they say. This is why I say just let these companies fucking die, man. Like, let them die. There's no, like, I saw a post the other day from some guy saying, like, I guess it's easier for me to say. I get it. I try to be empathetic because it's easier for me to say because I'm all off the train, right? Like I haven't purchased anything Marvel DC in a while, and I'm not gonna purchase anything Marvel and DC in a while and forever, really. Some had to be some drastic changes, like I don't know, me buying the rights to them or some shit. Like I'm not interested in the company at all. As far as buying new material, everything I have is old and shit that I bought years upon years ago. But there was some guy who I was reading, he was in response to one of my videos, and he was like, yeah, I was holding out hope on, and I'm like, I start cringing when I hear that. And I'm like, why are you still holding out hope that this company is going to do anything for you? It's like, oh, it's the Christian Bale. It's like, oh, well, only redeeming quality is that they have Christian Bale be some like Marvel villain. It's like, there are no redeeming qualities about this fucking company, man. Like, stop going back to this abusive relationship, man. What's wrong with y'all? They told you what the game plan is. They keep telling you and telling you and telling you. And still there's some people that think, oh, well, I'll give it a chance. See, that's when the ignorance crosses into stupidity, bro.
You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on YouTube.com/YoungRipper59 and Odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, EricDJLi.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.